لله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we're gathered here today, inshallah, and I want to address one thing, and that is mahabba, love. And if we all ask ourselves, do we love Allah, do we love His Rasul? And we're all going to say yes, we're all going to say, of course I love my Prophet and Allah. But what does it mean to love? What does it mean to be in a state of mahabba? How many of us know that we're in the month of that Rasulullah was born? How many of us know the time he was born? How many of us know how many kids he had? The name of the kids he had? How many of us know these small little things about someone who's supposed to be the most beloved to us, more than our parents, our family, everyone? لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. That none of you believe that there is no Islam, there is no belief, unless I become more beloved to you than your parents, your children, and all of mankind. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How many of us know how he looked like? Inshallah, I'm going to give us some of the most descriptive narrations that were reported by the ulama of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And even though these might not even do justice to describe the majesty of the Rasul, just listen, inshallah. Listen to the description of your Prophet. Listen how people saw him, his physical characteristics. This may be the first time for some of you that might have heard this. So listen closely, inshallah. He was making hijrah to Medina with two of the Sahaba, and he passed by a woman's tent looking for food, some water. And long story short, the woman was describing to her husband how Rasulullah ﷺ looked. And she began by saying, رَأَيْتُ رَجُلًا ظَاهِرُ الْوَضَاءَ, that he was of striking appearance. أَبْلَجُ الْوَجْهِ, that he had a radiant face. Aisha anha said she was knitting, she was sewing, and she dropped her needle in the dark, and she said, I was looking for my needle, and said, Ya Rasulullah, I can't find my needle. And Rasulullah went to go see where the needle was, and she said, I swear by the battle of the radiance of his face, I found my needle. Listen to the description of your Rasul. Hasna al-khalq, that he was beautifully created. Lam tu'ibhu khujla, that his belly wasn't protruding. He always had a flat stomach. Walam tuzalihi za'la, that his head wasn't small. He wasn't disproportionate. Everything about him was middle. And as we know, everything about Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was middle. Wasimun qasimun, that he was proportionate and delicate. Fi aynayhi da'j, that in his eyes was a great contrast. That the white was extremely white and the black was excessively black. وَفِي أَشْفَارِهِ وَقَفْ, and he had nice long eyelashes. وَفِي صَوْتِهِ صَحِبْ, that in his voice was a natural echo. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أَزَجْ أَقَرْ, his eyebrows, they were separated and arched, not connected. Shadid siwad al-sha'r, that his hair was excessively black, was intensely black. إِذَا صَمْتَ عَلَهُ الْوَقَارِ, that when he was quiet and when he was silent, dignity would cover him. وَإِنْ تَكَلَّمْ عَلَهُ الْبَهَاءِ, that when he spoke, it was audible, clear, it was logical, precise and to the point. أَجْمَلُ النَّاسِ وَأَبْهَاهُ مِنْ بَعِيدٍ, that from afar, he was the most beautiful of the people. وَأَحْسَنُ وَأَحْلَى مِنْ قَرِيبٍ, and from close, he was the most striking and the most handsome of them all. He was a sight to behold. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. حُلْوَ الْمَنْطِقِ, that his speech was exalted and smooth. فَصْلٌ لَا نَظْرٌ وَلَا هَبْرٌ, that it was to the point. It was never an excess. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too little. He wasn't flirtatious. He didn't waste words. That it was perfect. كأن منطقه خرزات نظم يتحدون. As if his words were like beautifully crafted jewels coming from a necklace. That they were perfect and precise. No flaw in place. No flaw in sight. Rab'a. That he was medium in height. Because everything about Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was medium. He wasn't short and he wasn't tall, yet he was inclining towards height. He wasn't black, nor was he white. He was in the middle. Everything about him was middle. His hair, it wasn't curly nor was it straight. It was middle. Everything about the Rasul was middle, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That when you looked at him, you didn't have to look up and strain your eyes to look up at him. Nor was it tedious to look down upon him. It was a comfort to the eyes. غصن بين غصنين. That he was a branch that emits two more branches. That you're in the desert, a lifeless land, sand and heat and sun, nothing in sight. And when you see a tree, when you see a branch, that's the sight of the Arabs. When you see a tree in the desert, it's something beautiful. It's like when we're here, it's not about trees. When we see mountains, it's something beautiful. In the desert, when you see a tree, it's a sign of life. غصن بين غصنين. وهو عمل ثلاثة منظرا. That he was the best of the three to behold. وأحسنهم قدرا. That he was the best in proportion, the most handsome of them all. له فقاء يحفون به. That his people, his companions would go and serve him. إذ قال السمع لقوله. That when he spoke, they would hearken to his words. وإذا أمر تبادروا إلى أمره. That when he commanded something, they would compete to try and fulfill his commandment. This is the description of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can go on for hours about it. There's so many narrations. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He had a full beard. He had broad shoulders. And everything about him was middle. Everything was middle. He was a sight to behold. And this is the man said, I once was out in Medina under the full moon. And we all know the majesty of the moon in the beautiful sky of the desert. The stars, the moon, when it was full moon. And he said, let me compare the beauty of this moon to my Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let me see how this compares to my Prophet. Let me see how this compares to our Prophet, to my Prophet. So he goes out to see, and he sees the Rasul from afar, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he looks upon the Rasul's face, he looks at the moon. And he looks at the Rasul, and he looks at the moon. And he looks at the Rasul, and he looks at the moon. And he said, Wallahi, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is more of a view to behold, more beautiful than the moon in all its entirety. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Listen to the description of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is our Prophet. This is where we come from. Not ethnically, not culturally. This is who we are as Muslims. We're Muslims first. Everything else comes after. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a man of the people. He wasn't like the kings of Persia and Rome, where they'd stay in their castles and their palaces. He was one of the people. That he would laugh at what they laughed at, joke and smile with them. A woman came up to him and she said, she was an old woman, she said, Ya Rasulullah, أدخل الجنة? Will I enter paradise? And Rasulullah said, لا تدخلون الجنة عجوز. That no old woman goes to paradise. And she began to get very upset. And he said, سَتَدْخُلِينَ شَابًّا. That we're going to enter paradise young and youthful. And she began to laugh and smile and left. And that's the confrontation Rasulullah had with his people. He made them feel human. No matter what, I'm always going to make you feel human. That's who the Rasul was. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. A man came up to Rasulullah and he was confessing to him. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, halaktu. He said, ماذا halaktu? He said, Rasulullah, I messed up. He said, what happened? What did you do? What happened? He said, Rasulullah, وقعت زوجتي في رمضان. That I slept with my wife in Ramadan. And he made a dihara, when you with your wife, that he wouldn't, he made an oath. I made an oath I would not sleep with my wife in Ramadan, and I broke the oath. He said, ما حمل على ذلك? What caused you to do this? He said, Allah, Ya Rasulullah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, رأيت بياض حجليها في القمر فوقعت عليها. That, Rasulullah, I saw her beautiful in the moonlight, and I fell for her. ضحك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. But Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم began to laugh. He began to smile. And he said, لا تفعل ذلك. Don't do this. Go make kafara for your sin. Go do expiation for your sin. That a man was coming to him in a state of sin, saying he messed up, and he didn't belittle him. He didn't shame him, saying, shame on you, haram, tawbah, istighfar, go do it. He left with him, and he said, go do the kafara. That the doors of mercy are always open, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're always open. There's no shame, there's no animosity, nothing. That no matter what, I'm going to make you feel like a human being. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another story I want to relate to you, inshallah. The grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hassan and Hussein, Allah be pleased with them. Hassan was the older of the two, and he could speak very eloquently, very articulate. He had no problems with speech. But his son, his brother, Hussein had an intense stutter. He could barely speak, he barely get his words out. And they were young. And they were in the gathering with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And with the Sahaba and the gathering, and as you're young, you muster up the courage to stand up and speak. You know, and so Hussein began to pitch in the conversation, and the gathering around him began to pitch in. And once he began to speak, he was stuttering so badly. He couldn't even get a sentence out, let alone one word. He was stuttering so badly that the situation began to get a little awkward. That just naturally the Sahaba began to look at each other and just feel sorry for the boy. Pity him that he can barely even speak. Basically it's embarrassing that he's among the Sahaba and among Rasul, and he can barely speak. And the Sahaba looking around, not out of hatred or nothing, no guilt, nothing wrong, but just a natural reaction like this is, we feel sorry for this boy. And they began to look at the Rasul to see his reaction. What is he doing? And they looked at him, and he had a big smile on his face. He was looking at him, waiting for him to finish his sentence, finish his thought. Even if it took him 5 whole minutes to finish, he was giving him the attention he deserved. Because that was Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he would give every person their due right to their attention when they're speaking. That he would never cut them off. He would let them finish when they're talking. So they saw him with a big smile on his face, looking at his grandson finish speaking. And right when he finished, he looked at the Sahaba and he said, لَقَدْ وَرَثَهَا عَنْ عَمِّهِ مُوسَى. That he inherited this from his uncle Moses, from Uncle Musa, alayhi salam. That he made this negative into a positive. He saw what he acknowledged what the position that his grandson was in, how embarrassing it should have been. And he said, don't pity him, don't feel bad for him, envy him. He shares one of the traits of the great Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That he shares one of the greatest attributes, because as we know, Prophet Musa had a bit of a stutter when he spoke. That he shares a great attribute with one of the greatest prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made the negative into a positive. He made him feel good, he made him smile, he made him happy. He acknowledged the situation he was in. That's our Rasul. That's where we come from. That's where we come from. Be proud of who your Rasul is. We claim to love him. You can't claim to love the beloved if you don't love what the beloved loves. Learn to love the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because wallahi, when you read about him, when you read the seerah about him, you're going to have this feeling inside you like, well, I want to meet him. I want to see him. I want to be in his presence. I want to talk to him. You're gonna have this feeling that this longing for Rasulullah, like you know him more than anyone else. Because nobody in history, nor in the future, will ever have such a detailed description of their life like Rasulullah. And how many of us know when he passed away? How many of us know the Khutbah al-Wada, his last sermon? How many of us know about him? We claim love. We claim love, yet we don't prove it. I want one more story, inshallah, and I know it's inshallah story after story. I'm not asking you to remember all of them, but pick one. Find one that makes you feel good about your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli alayhi. One more story that Bashir was an Ansari. He went out on a military expedition. He went and Rasulullah didn't go on this journey, but they were coming back, and as Rasulullah said, he would go out to welcome them into Medina. He would go outside of Medina to welcome them back into Medina. And the sons and the families would go out and they would welcome back their fathers, their husbands, their uncles, their brothers, welcome them back from a military expedition. And Bashir's son, he went out, a young boy, he went out on a rock looking for his father, waiting for him to come back after a long journey. Finally, he'd see my father. And the people were coming into Medina, entering the gates. And he's asking, have you seen my father? Have you seen my father? I can't find him in the crowd. Have you seen my father? And finally, when he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam enter Medina, he knew there was no one else. Because Rasulullah was always the last one to enter. Shepherd of his people, always making sure they're ahead of him before himself. And once he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam enter, he knew, that's it, there's no one else. And my father was gone. He was not coming back. The young boy began to cry and bawl and tears flowing down his face. He couldn't fathom what was going on. He just began to cry. And Rasulullah was on his animal and he saw this. And he went to him. And the first thing he did, he embraced him. He hugged him. He hugged him until he stopped crying, until the tears from his face began to subside. Because he saw the pain in his eyes. He saw the pain in his heart. And he embraced him. And he said to Bashir, أما ترضى أن أكون أنا أباك وعائشة أمك? Don't worry, don't cry. If you need a father from today, I will be your father from this day. And if you need a mother, Aisha will be your mother from this day. This is who our Prophet was. Embracing someone else's child as your own. Watching out over everyone but yourself. Worried about everything else and everyone else. Making sure his ummah was happy. Making sure we were happy. Aisha anha relates in a hadith that I saw the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a cheerful mood. So I went up to him. I said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua for me. Make dua for me. And he said, Allahumma ighfir Aisha. Oh Allah, forgive Aisha. And he continued, Allahumma ighfir Aisha. Ma taqaddama min dhanbiha wa ma ta'akhkhar. Oh Allah, forgive Aisha for the sins she committed in public and the ones she committed in private. And she began to smile and laugh, and she was so happy. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Did this dua make you happy? And she said, Ya Rasulullah, of course. How could this not make anybody happy? How could this not make anybody happy? He said, Wallahi innaha la da'wati li ummati fi kulli salah. Wallahi, by Allah, I make this dua for my ummah in every single prayer. That he makes a dua for us in every single prayer. That he's thinking about us and can we say that we are thinking about him? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we know, only cared about his ummah. He was with the Sahaba and he said, well, he used to be with the Sahaba and he used to cry. And he said, I miss my brothers. I miss my brothers. And the companions looked at him, Ya Rasulullah, are we not your brothers? Are we not your brothers? He said, no, you're my Sahaba. He said, my brothers are the ones who come after me, who believe in me, and who have never seen me. We are the Rasulullah called us his brothers. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. That he's crying for us. He misses us. Do we miss him? Do we want to be with him? Al-maru ma'a man ahab, that a man is with the one he loves. A man was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and very sad. He said, Rasulullah, I love no one more than you. And I'm afraid that when we enter paradise, you're going to be on the highest level, and I'm going to be on the lowest level. That I'm not going to even get to see you in paradise. That it wasn't even about getting there. It was just a matter of, Ya Rasulullah, I want to be with you. And Rasulullah said, Al-maru ma'a man ahab, that a man is with one he loves. Love Rasulullah and you will be with him inshaAllah ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah. Brothers and sisters in Islam, inshallah, one of the main things in our follow them around. You see what they do. You imitate them. Read about your Rasul. Learn to love him. Read about his time in Medina. When you read his seerah, when Khadija anha, when she dies, cry with the Rasul. When he conquers Mecca, smile with him. Make his life your life. Make it a part of you. And we all know, we could go on forever about the stories of the Sahaba who had such an intense love of Rasul. And I want to go over one story, and as we all know, Bilal Allahu anhu, the mu'adhin of the Ummah. When Rasulullah passed away, when Rasulullah passed away, Bilal Allahu anhu, he couldn't be in Medina anymore. He couldn't walk where the Prophet was. He couldn't be in a place where the Prophet used to be. He couldn't pray where the Prophet used to pray. Every corner, every rock, every street reminded him of Rasul. He couldn't be there. So as many Sahaba did, they went on expeditions, on journeys, on military endeavors, just as a distraction. Because they just couldn't anymore. And so Bilal went to Sham. And he finally came back to Medina after 20 years. He finally came back to Medina after 20 years. And he said, "Ya Bilal, give the adhan. Give the adhan." And he said, I can't, it's too painful, I can't give the adhan. After 20 years, give the adhan. He said, I can't give the adhan. And they began to convince him and speak to him and convince him. And finally decided to give the adhan. And he went up to Medina, he went up to the Masjid of Rasul after 20 years, and he began to give the adhan. And when he began to give the adhan, and people started flooding out of their houses in tears, thinking that the Prophet was coming to lead them in prayer. Because after 20 years, that's the connection they had with their Prophet. The people were crying and the tears were flowing because it brought back this nostalgic feeling of the Rasul being with them, being a part of them. That every time Bilal would reach Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, he couldn't continue, he'd break down. He couldn't do it anymore. That finally on his deathbed, his wife said, "Oh, what sorrow, what sorrow." And he said, "No, what joy, what joy. I am finally going to be with the one whom I love. I am finally going to be reunited with Rasul sallallahu. This is what mahabba is. And I pray to Allah that I get to have that feeling, inshallah. And I pray to Allah that we all get to have this feeling, inshallah. Because Allah, it's a beautiful feeling. Being in a state of love. Read about the Rasul. Read small stories. Tell your kids stories. Tell them stories about the hero that is Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That he went to Mecca and there was an all-time wrestler in Mecca and no one could bring him down. And the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted the challenge and he brought him down 3 times. Like this is my hero. Tell your kids stories. Read the seerah. Be proud of where you come from. Inshallah ta'ala, love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the epitome of faith. It's the first step. And the only way to get there is to learn about the one who you love. Read the seerah. Read about him. Be proud that this is where you come from. That on the day of judgment, nafsi, nafsi, everyone's going to be running around saying nafsi, nafsi. And Rasulullah saying, no, ummati, ummati. He's going to be interceding for us. Ummati, ummati. On the day when there is no shade except Allah's shade. Ummati, ummati. Rasulullah misses us. And let us together, inshallah, miss him back and make an effort to miss him back. I pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he puts us in a state of mahabba, that we can feel the love for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم انصر المسلمين في سوريا وفي مصر وفي فلسطين وفي بورما وفي كل مكان يذكر فيه اسمك يا رب العالمين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربي زدني علما واقم الصلاة.